What's up everybody, and welcome to the channel. In today's video we are doing the inevitable 5 things I hate about my car video. Now before any of you take this way too seriously, commenting below telling me I should have bought a Honda Civic or a minivan or something, here's my thought process. On YouTube we love to sugarcoat how amazing our cars are, this is the best car money can buy, all that stuff. Here's the thing, if you're about to drop $65,000 on a car, wouldn't you like to know any and all downfalls from someone who actually owns the car? This car is awesome, my wife and I love it. However, there are some things about it, that are less than ideal that I wish were better. No car is perfect, and today's video is for the person looking to buy this car. Are these things going to deter you from buying it? So with that said, let's get into the 5 things that my wife and I kind of hate about this car. So number 1 on the list, I'm gonna basically call it Rev Hang. Now the last time I owned a dual clutch transmission car was my R35 GTR. There were 3 transmission settings, and the most conservative one, if you floor it, yeah, it would downshift, let you do what you need to do. As soon as you let out the gas, it would upshift, lower the RPMs, and relax. This car in comfort mode, you would think would do that more. However, if you at all floor it or something, it will stay in a low gear, high RPM. So let's floor it. So we're in 3rd gear. Still in 3rd gear. There's 4th. And there's 5th. So it kind of takes a while for the car to actually relax, which gets a little annoying. If you're in comfort mode, you would think the car would want to tone down and just relax a little bit. So it gets a little annoying if you're driving this in the comfort automatic mode, to where like even there it'll downshift a little aggressively and things like that. So it's just a little weird. So let's do that again, get up some speed. So we're in 3rd gear. I'm just slowly accelerating. Still in 3rd gear, finally shifted. And there, finally 5th gear. Alright, so to go ahead and show that again with the gauge cluster, let's floor it. So we're not even on the gas. Just cruising. There we go. And there we go. So it takes a minute, and then like I said, in comfort mode, if I hit the brakes now, it's a little on the aggressive side. Now if we go into RS Performance, now this is where it makes sense. Makes sense to be holding the revs high, which it really, really does. I'm not even on the gas. And we're still in 3rd gear. So that makes a lot of sense when you are in the performance setting. This car is very, very on its toes, and it can only tone down so much, and sometimes it just gets a little bit annoying holding those high revs with the low gear. Moving on to point number 2 is cruise control. So the cruise control stock is in the bottom left. Push it all the way forward to completely cancel it, bump it back, and that's in the ready point. And when you just tap this icon, it'll pop up on the gauge cluster as you can see. And like normal, you just bump it one at a time to go up in speed. Pretty simple and straightforward as you'd expect. Now the problem with that is most cars, when you play with cruise control, you're able to click it like a second click and do increments of 5, or maybe you hold it in the up position and it will go in increments of 5. The problem I have with this car, if you want to do that, it goes way too fast in increments of 5 to where you can't even really use it. So if I go ahead and set the cruise control, we're at 45 right now, you can probably see. If I hold it up to go up to maybe 60, with just a few seconds, we're at 90 now. If I hold it down to go back, it's now way down to 35. It is really hard to hold this up and judge and stop. So at 55, let's go to 40. Okay, I actually got it that time, but it is so hard. Let's go up to 50 in increments of 5. Now we're at 60. So it is just really hard, given when you hold it all the way down, it goes super quickly 5 at a time, and you just cannot keep up with that type of cruise control. So that is one thing where it's like, if you want to go up by 10 miles an hour, you just got to bump it 10 times, which is a little tedious. Obviously that's kind of nitpicky, but when I look at my Toyota Supra, it's got the one on the steering wheel. You bump it a light up or down and it'll go up by 1. You do a hard click up, it goes 5. So you can very easily go up 15 miles an hour. This one, if you want to go up 15 miles an hour, let's see if I can get it. So we're at 40 right now. Let's try to go to 55. I got it that time, but you really got to pay attention and look at it and watch. So, I don't know, I wish there was like a secondary click as you made the stock go up or down to do the increments of 5. Number 3 on the list is the lack of a true manual mode. Now again, when I had the GTR, you bumped it into manual and it truly gave you control of the transmission using the paddle shifters, and it really didn't do anything. It was all you shifting. Most automatics with paddle shifters do that. You know, the automatic Toyota Supra, same thing. You're in manual mode. It pretty much gives you 95% of the control. This car doesn't really do that. On the shifter right here, if you bump this down, puts it into sport automatic, which of course it'll still shift for you. Downshift, upshift, things like that. So if I go into the RS Performance, clicking the paddle shifter, we're now in M4S. So basically manual mode, sport mode. The thing is, it still kind of takes over, like hitting the brakes. It'll do aggressive downshifting, which is fine, but you would think in a manual mode it would basically give that up to you. With the GTR in manual mode, even in the race transmission setting, it didn't do that. It was all up to you. So I just wish it gave you a little bit more of that freedom, because it almost doesn't really feel like you're in a manual setting when you are using the paddles. So we'll get back up to speed. Let's see if it'll shift for me. Alright, so that's actually something I didn't know. In the S3, it would upshift for you in manual mode. So at least this car doesn't upshift for you. That's actually cool. I didn't know that. Wow. So I'm not hating it as much as I may have thought. However, my still complaint is it still doesn't truly ever feel like you're in a manual setting, especially when you hit the brakes and it downshifts just as aggressive as if it were in the automatic. And then if you go into the comfort mode, let's go to manual, see if it shifts for me. See, right there, it did shift for me. So at least if you're in RS Performance mode, it gives you a little bit more of that control, but in comfort mode or anything, if you're in manual, it still shifts for you up and down. So if I go to 5th, let's see in comfort mode if it downshifts for me quickly. So it still does aggressive downshifting. So I guess I'm up in the air on that, but nonetheless, for a manual mode, you would think it would just give you a little bit more control. I guess it's not as bad as I thought, but still, I wouldn't mind a little bit better manual setting to where you can truly put it in manual and leave it, because if you then change your mode, you know, now we're back into drive automatic. So again, wouldn't mind that being a little bit more set in manual and let it stay like that. Moving on to number 4 is the steering feel. In comfort mode, it's relaxed, it's lightweight, not really any complaints. If you go into the performance mode, I feel like it doesn't get as heavy as I would want it to go. It's kind of got a variable steering to where the faster you go, the harder you turn, the more this car turns. The car handles very well, there's no complaints about that. However, the steering feeling when you're doing quick stuff just doesn't quite feel like what I like. And it almost feels like the front will steer hard and turn, and then the back just kind of follows along it. It doesn't really feel like it's handling on rails and steering where it gives you the best feedback. I'm not that confident in this car just going hard turn. It just feels like you can kind of, it's hard to explain on camera, but when I do this, I can feel the front going and the back is like delayed. So I don't know, there's some weird connection from the front to the back of this car. It has wider front tires, a wider front track. It's a front wheel drive biased. See right there, it just downshifted when I'm in manual mode, come on. But around these quick sweepers, when you first get into it, it just seems to take a second for the rear end to then follow. It's a hard thing to explain, but it's just not as direct, not as heavy as I would like. You know, you hop in a M3, a Supra, even our old S3, which I would assume the old RS3 as well. It just felt so good. It was so perfect the way it handled and steered. It had such good feedback. It was direct. The ratio is perfect. So this car is just still not quite sold. It has gotten a lot better with the lowering springs and the wheel spacers to where this car feels a lot better, but there is still something about the steering. I wish it was just heavier, more weighted, give me more of a old school mechanical steering rack rather than the new techie stuff. And that brings us to number 5 on the list, is honestly the front grille. There is a lot of it. This car has taken a little bit of time to get used to the front styling. Going from our 2016 S3, it was just such a beautiful, clean looking car. This grille is a lot. It's very bulky looking. Sometimes looks a little cheap. I think in the stock formation, the whole carbone stock, it looks a little cheap just because it's so much grille. However, now that we have the car sitting on lowering springs and the wheel spacers, honestly, the stance has improved so much to where you start seeing the width of the car more, the blue on the fenders, to where the grille doesn't stick out so much. And now I think it looks awesome. It looks low and aggressive. So basically the stock ride height, the stock wheel stance and everything makes that grille just look like a big empty space of nothingness. So that has grown on us for sure. So there are 5 things we hate about the Audi RS3. Looking at all of them, a little nitpicky on some of them. However, the one thing is the steering. That is one thing that I didn't really think about. And now owning this car has truly made me realize how much I love a car that steers amazing. The super steering is fantastic. My Gallardo steering is so mechanical. I love the old school steering, the mechanical hydraulic steering, or really precision tuned electronic steering. I'm not the biggest fan of the modern cars with just the lighter variable kind of weird steering. And I know in the Nissan GTR world, I think like 19 or 20 or something, the newer generations have the same thing. They're light steering, and a lot of GTR owners complain about the newest car steering versus the old ones. My 2014 was super direct, amazing steering, and I've truly realized how much I love a good car that steers well. Now this is my wife's car, more of our daily. We're not really ripping it on the back roads, doing the same sort of driving we do in the Supra or the Lambo. So I don't really deal with it that much. You know, this car's more about ripping on it, getting up to speed, and the technology, the luxury aspect. However, if this was truly my own car and my only car, you know, I think an M2 would probably be more my taste because of the steering. But there you guys go, 5 things we hate about the Audi RS3. If you're looking to buy one of these cars, I would definitely recommend it. It is a great car in many ways. Check out all the other videos we have on it. And I do have the one coming of 5 things we love about this car, which certainly outweigh the cons. But if any of these 5 things are really gonna bug you, this might not be the car for you. With that said, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one.